Hello and God bless you. This is the Christmas season and this is called Go Tell the World. I have Deacon Pat and our hosting the show, but we have two co-hosts, Ann DeSantis and Billl Snyder. Welcome, y'all.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellen and Deacon Pat.
Bill?
Good to hear from you, Bill.
Yes, it is wonderful to be with you guys. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. I know I don't have my video on tonight, but I'm glad to be here with you the same.
Thank you so much. We know it's a busy time at Christmas for all people. I didn't realize, Ann and Bill and Pat, I didn't realize it was a week till Christmas. And my mother, who's living with us, she's 97. She went, there's only 7 days till Christmas. Nothing is Christmas. But however, we got the cards, and I sent a lot of cards and we got the presents, but there's more to Christmas than the cards and the presents and baking the cookies and doing the things that we're doing the food, we're hosting Christmas Day. So what do y'all think? We're going to talk tonight, I think, about what we could do to keep Advent alive in our hearts all year through, but also to do acts of kindness and random things that you normally wouldn't do. Pat and I were talking about this at the dinner time. We said using your time, your talent, and your treasure to bless others and preparing the manger of your heart. What do y'all think?
Well, I think it's a great topic because it's such a major part of what it means to be a Christian, to be a Catholic, is in giving ourselves as missionary disciples, right? Missionary disciples that we can give of ourselves to help those people who may be struggling. And this is a time of year that there are some people, there's a lot of happy times with family and food and excitement and parties. But then there's also people who might have lost a loved one over this past year. There's people who might have lost a job, or they're going through some kind of family tragedy at this time. So we always want to pray for those people and think of ways that we can make them know how much we care. And so I think this is an excellent topic.
Yeah, you asked the calls for the topic. All this one, and she actually wrote. I just her blog people really good on with this. And this is her book, and it's called "Love and Care for the Marginalized." It's 40 meditations. I always say it's a little book with a powerful message. So if you haven't gotten your last minute Christmas gift or stocking stuffer, go to Amazon or go to is it at Barnes and Noble as well, and find yourself a copy. Right, find yourself a copy because I really treasured. I was reading my prayer time so that I can implement, because there's a lot of powerful messages. So that's what I say. Thank you for the topic.
Thank you. I appreciate your little plug for the book. Yeah, I'd say Amazon's the best place. And it was published by Charis Publishing, which it's CHARIS Publishing. And you can just Google that and go right to their website and also order right from there too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And Bill, what do you think? Busy time.
Oh, I think it's a wonderful topic to be talking about tonight. And in fact, if I can start with a story, because Ellen, as you were talking about the topic, the first thing that popped into my head was something that we did as kids, and people may have heard this on Patrick Art Radio before, this story, but I thought I'll share it with your audience. It just popped in my head as you were sharing the topic, because it's something that is all about giving during this season of giving. And so when we were kids, little, like teenagers, I would say, my mom and dad signed up for this thing in the parish called Christmas Angels. And Christmas Angels was this activity where there were 12 families who were the angels, and there were 12 or sometimes 15 families who were the recipients of the angels. And each of the 12 days before Christmas, a different angel family would go and drop off gifts on the front doorstep of the homes of the people in need. So, and do so secretly. So we'd all wear black. We wear all black, and we would run to the door, ring the doorbell, run away, get in the car, and go to the next house. And it was always a treasure time. It was sanctioned through our parish, and and we learned so much about, first of all, for two teenagers to play ding dong ditch for one night, it's absolutely awesome, right? It's a great way, but you also get a chance to really give back, and you see, the different signs that the kids from these families, one mom might have, been suffering with cancer, or, a dad may have died in the family, or whatever. These were big problems. These were not just like, these people were really suffering at this time of the year. And so, getting a chance to go serve them in a very powerful way, has stuck with me throughout my, adulthood, just to realize that, as Ann said, there are people that are hurting out there. There's people who really need God's love. And so, whether we're taking an ornament off the Christmas tree, or the giving tree at our parish, whatever we're doing, we have to remember that, we have to serve, we have to give back during this season, because so many are hurting.
Yes, I think, as I was thinking about this topic, is those are all great things to do, and I think we tend to like, something a little more dramatic. But just thinking about each day, I mean, what I see happening, and we all are seeing it in terms of our culture being less charitable, just in worded, in terms of how you speak to people, and little things that you can do every day, with just having that kind of mindset of, how can I affect this person in a positive way? And that requires more work on our part, just in terms of making that kind of mindset in a daily, constant basis. And one of the things that has struck me when I think of in the church, and like when we talk about the big issues, abortion, what's going on in terms of transgender, is it seems to me we've not done a great job in projecting that these issues, and why we're saying the things we're saying, is truly out of a love and caring concern, trying to be charitable in terms of the truth, and really wanting to do the right thing for other people. And it really is something that I think we as a body of Christ just really need to really work hard at. Yes, these are important issues, and we are coming at this not out of condemnation, but out of love and care and concern for everybody, those who are being harmed by these issues, and those who are doing the issues, because everybody is being harmed, obviously. And to come across that this is really coming out of a heart that loves and cares, and to do that every day in every people we meet is a real challenge. Even some of the great saints weren't exactly always necessarily nice people.
When you said this, the angels, and what a good story. I was thinking that you met the angels, you fall off the tree. And we happen to be at another church that we go to two churches. Our churches were Pat's a deacon at Holy Trinity, Church of Holy Trinity, we love. But since I have a decade degree, we end up at a closer church most of the time, which is St. Teresa's. And I love doing the angels. And even when the kids were little, we buy the thing that we really want to purchase for them. And we try to pick an expensive one because we had the money. But I go, oh, the angel tree, we should take one. We're at this church a lot. And she says, well, it's the last day. And you don't have to buy gifts. You have to just put money in it. And I was like, I thought, oh no, I like to buy the gifts for the people who buy it. And she said, some of these people, and this is a suburban church, they can't afford their water bill or their electric bill. And I was so sad by my reaction, because I want to give presents, and then by the fact that we are thinking, Pat and I, we do have a lot of people in our family that are not really wealthy, or they're not really in jobs and different things, like not our children, but certain family members. And we said, and we try to help in ways we can, but I wasn't even thinking that. So I really do think that look around, like Pat said and Bill said, and see what you can do. We pray, my prayer partner and I is Judy, and we pray every single year at Christmas that God will point to certain people to give a gift to that we normally set on our list. Maybe one child just got out of jail, or maybe they are on drugs, or maybe an older lady doesn't have anyone to fix them dinner. And so we do pray, both of us, and we have amazing stories from doing that for years and years and years, but I really do like your bring and run.
Yeah, I give Ann a chance to share, but I have a story of something that our daughter and her husband do that's pretty remarkable. So you have some thoughts there, Ann?
Oh, well, I would love to hear that story. I can always share after that. Yeah.
Okay, well, is what they do is every year, this time of year, is a bunch of friends would go with them to a restaurant.
Oh, this is good, Charity.
And they will give the waitress $100 from each couple.
Sounds for each person.
And so it was like $800 that they gave this waitress.
And they went to like a really nice restaurant. Okay, you know.
And Ryan, who is my son-in-law, he said invariably that waitress is gone. You know, once they get that money, they're leaving. They can't stay in the restaurant because they're just so blown away, by it. So
what a good tradition, right? All their friends go. We miss it most years, but it's a good way to. They don't tell them to the end. They said this one lady this time was one waitress, two, so she got the total bonus of the blessing from God.
That's an amazing story. I don't think I'm going to forget that one. I can't imagine what that waitress may have felt like after receiving that gift. So thank you. And I agree with everyone on this conversation. I mean that it's a happy time of year for all of us, right? Because we're celebrating our faith. We love God, and we've got family, we've got people to share that with. But for anyone who's watching this podcast who's gone through challenges, it could be anything, right? Like I mentioned some of the things that it could be. It could even just be simply that, inside your family right now, that the relationships aren't going so well. And that can happen too. And as much as we know we have our faith and our faith makes us happy and joyful, sometimes when people go through those relationship issues, you just don't know where to turn. And so I would say that this is a great topic. And I would also like to introduce the audience, your audience too, because for those people who are in some kind of crisis, is that I represent a religious order that has a foundation, the St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation, where we make pastoral outreach to families who are facing adversity. So we offer a free pastoral consultation with a priest, and you can reach out to us at any time. So all you need to do is go to our website at nonatus.org. And if you're going through something, you can send in a confidential prayer request. You can request to talk to a priest, at any time. So I just want to make that shout out to people who might be thinking, it seems so happy. Of course, we're overjoyed that we have a Savior, that it's the time to celebrate his birth. But when you're going through something, all of the happiness sometimes is difficult to be around for some people. It really is. And I know that even from things that I've gone through in my own life, where being around sort of that happiness is difficult for some. It is difficult. So we really want to empathize with them, that that we understand. And the way that you can bring joy back into your own life a lot of times is by giving it away to someone else, isn't it? It's the way that we can pray for other people, that we can, even in our own poverty, we can give to others. So I think that's the way that healing can happen, is when we give of ourselves, even if we ourselves are going through something that is very challenging for us or our family members.
And the challenges in terms of, because early on in our married life, we tried not to overemphasize the whole gifts and giving. I wanted to just limit to like one gift per child. But we got kind of sabotaged by grandma and grandpa, and you can't say to grandma and grandpas, no, you can't give the gifts, so because that's that real challenge, isn't it? In terms of, you want to be giving, but at the same time, you don't want it to be all about the gifts. It's the giver that we want to be about, right?
Yes.
You know what I was thinking also, though, to be gentle with yourself. Then you could jump in, Bill, after this, but be gentle with yourself. Like we shared, I had Emily, Jeminette, and Jane Ann on the show. We talked about Advent and the practicals, and we talked about the spiritual, putting Jesus first in every part of the celebration. But some mothers are pregnant, maybe that's a hard time to get everything on the table at once. And some people are up with a nursing baby. I was up the first 12 years of our marriage with either pregnancy or nursing baby, and that was a lot of sleepless nights. And sometimes when our baby died in September the 13th, so some Christmas are sad, and you have to go, like, you can't push yourself out of the pit. You have to kind of have someone else, just like the scripture this week about put the man down the roof. You're the man that has to go down the roof. And even husbands out there listening, be sensitive to the wife. I saw my kids, if mom did everything, she'd be dead. And some of these women are trying to be, perfect and put on this special Christmas, and sometimes they just need a helping hand. I really do emphasize that. And that could be your kindness for that year of the, you're not gonna look very far, but your wife's just making it through the day. And Pat was very much a hero on that, right, honey? Because I had many years where I was making it through the day, and there was a lot to make it through. A lot of people, a lot of noses to wipe and diapers to change, and it was a lot of stuff. So we need each other, don't we? We need each other, and this world needs a helping hand. So we all, in our own little corner of the world, we all can do our share of like loving and giving and kindness, and then we can be willing to and our loans to each other. Let the other guy help them out. I got it. It was because I got it. But that's a humility step. If you say, someone says, "Can I go do this for you?" You say, "Sure, I'd love it. Thank you." Instead of like, "I got it." We're those people like that. But what do you think? Do you got it?
I do think that I like the word that you used, humility. I think that we have a lot to emulate this time of year when it comes to humility. And Jesus shows us the ultimate humility of coming down from heaven and being, a little baby to rescue us from darkness. And so yeah, I think there's a lot of give and take. I can certainly relate to, that stage in life where you're taking care of, toddlers and 2-year-olds. I mean, right at the moment, I'm actually cutting strawberries to give to my 2-year-old. So, I mean, you see that you can kind of relate to that. There's always something very, busy and crazy going on in the world. But if you can slow down and remember that you are not alone, especially if you're married, right? And be able to rely on one another, and have that give and take to make the the season bright and beautiful for your children. It's huge, right?
Amen. Yeah.
Well said, Bill. I mean, it's true. I like what you said about you're not alone. I mean, if you are married, you have a spouse that you can depend on and pray together with and just journey together in life. So, but we always pray also for those people who might not have someone, right? So I think that was wise of you, Bill, to bring that up, because we're never really alone, because also we have the Lord, no matter what our vocation, right? We have God with us, and we know that He's supporting us by His love. And this is a special time of year where there's a lot of focus on presents and food and parties and trees and decorations and candy and all those things. And none of those things are bad, right? But sometimes we can, if we focus too much on those things, and even as Catholics, it can happen, even as good Catholics, it can happen, that we focus too much on that part of it, right? We focus too much on the gifts that we need to buy and, pleasing someone and everything else. And really what it's about is that the quiet moments that you have as a family in prayer, enjoying something very simple. It doesn't have to be something extravagant, and I think that there's a lot of comparison too. Let's face it, I mean, when we visit people's homes, we judge the food. We say, that was a 10, that was an 8, I mean, we do it. Let's face it. We do it. We judge the decorations that we see outside, and we judge the clothing that we wear, and we judge the way we look, and we judge everything. So I just think that this is a time for us to focus on our relationship with God. And when we can think about those people that we know in our own lives who might not be as joyful as we are, right? Like, I mean, maybe joy comes easy to us. Maybe, I know for me it does. I mean, there was a time in my life, I've talked about this on other podcasts, but I went through a pretty bad depression for a number of years where it really was hard for me to find joy in my life, you know? So I would say that what happened with me was God enlightened me to what that's like for some other people, you know? So I never want to lose that, like what God taught me during those years of suffering, for what it's like for people who might not have the joy that we have, even though we have Christ and we can pray for them, we can read the Bible, we can do all the things that we do to evangelize. But sometimes people who are very devoted still go through real tough times, and it's hard for them to feel the joy, you know? So I do think that as Catholics, this time of year is a time for reflection, and it's a time to do something good for somebody that you know. It could even be a long phone call, right? It could be a long phone call with a friend of yours that, or a relative that you can listen to, and you can offer your listening ear and your accompaniment, right? You're the art of accompaniment. We can be missionary disciples for
Ellen,
Christ. And
Ellen,
that's the gift that we can give to other people.
the story for Catholic Mom, and she talked about being the best present is being present to the people who are around you and who are in your life, and as you say, really being present to the person, because we could be right next to somebody and not really present to them in the sense of really listening, hearing, paying attention to them, and so and that's really what's really important, and why it should be a joyful season is because of the people. But as you say, some people don't. I always worry about, in fact, this is reminding me of people in nursing homes, in terms of sometimes there are people in nursing homes who have no one, really. It's only the people in the nursing home who are really they're connected to in their life. They don't really have family anymore. And so that can be a real problem, and not necessarily their own fault. Although I've seen that too, in terms of how people can just really push their family away. But the idea is Jesus wants us to be connected with each other, and especially that he came to connect us to him so that we can really be truly connected to each other.
And also,
Yeah,
go
absolutely. Oh
ahead.
no, I'm gonna say, Deacon, there's something that really resonates with that for me as well. And I mean, Jesus uses the corporal and spiritual works of mercy um to highlight just how important it is, that we serve, right? I mean, you look at Matthew chapter 25 and you see that, this is this is all about the corporal and spiritual works of mercy and building up the kingdom of God. And it's what we are called to do, right? So I think that when we as Christians can visit, visit those who are lonely, I mean, that are just imprisoned in loneliness, um and we can spend some time again serving those people, you really see the joy come through yourself, right? Like that's where you find the true joy. um it's not an unwrapping another iPhone, like you know what I mean? It's not unwrapping
Yeah.
another iPhone. It's
Absolutely.
not.
Yeah.
It's really in giving. It's in giving that we receive. It's the Saint prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi. Like that's just what happens, right? It's through the giving that we receive the greatest blessings from God. And so I think you're spot on when you talk about really being present to those around us. um, and and giving of our time, because yeah, I mean I go back to my 2-year-old. Look, I know how fast a toy wears off. I mean, I can go to,
Or gets
McDonald's,
totaled.
get a Happy Meal. That toy, brings him joy, brings him happiness for about 3 minutes, you know? And if it's not ruined by the end of the meal because it's been, thrown on the floor, or, whatever happened to it, by that time, we either take it home, it gets lost, or I put it in the trash on my way out. So it's not about the stuff. It's about the fact that, we had the meal, that we shared that time together. That's what brings true joy. It's not all this stuff.
I agree, Bill. I mean, the word that comes to my mind is we think of perfection, right? I don't know about you, but I mean, when I was younger, there was almost this like expectation of like how pretty the tree was going to be and how great the gifts were going to be and how delicious the food and everything. And none of that is bad, right? None of them in and of themselves are bad. But I think that we're really missing the
Sounds
mark.
stressful to me.
We're missing the mark, right?
Yeah.
Aren't we? Like we're missing the mark when it comes to what Christmas is all about. It's not about that. Was I the perfect host? I mean, of course I want to have a nice meal and everybody to enjoy it. But if something goes wrong, I don't want to be like, it's not the end of the world if something isn't perfect. You know what I mean? Like it's the fellowship that's there. It's the presence of Christ. Like you said, you being present to the people that are there. And
Do you-
not so much crazy about, the perfection of the day itself.
Yeah, and do you remember the movie Christmas Story? It just popped in my head. Do you remember the
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
The Christmas Story? At at the very end, right? That here I'm gonna ruin the movie for everybody who hasn't seen it, but
I-
at the very end, right? What happens? The dogs come in and eat the turkey dinner, right? Like they come in, the whole Christmas dinner is eaten. And where do they go? They go to the Chinese restaurant, which is like the only restaurant in town open, right? And they
Yeah.
have this joyous they have this joyous time, right? So
Right.
again, it just proves that it's not about, how great your meal is. And if a bunch of dogs come into your kitchen and destroy the turkey, like you can still have a good Christmas.
Yeah.
Right.
I think one of the things too, this is a good time, because talking about the marginalized is, I mean, Jesus didn't, as Christians, he didn't really give us
Thank you.
an option. He said, what did he say? He said, you have to take care of the poor, the widow, the orphan, the imprisoned. Now, that doesn't mean we all have to run into the prison ministry, but in some way, this is a good time of year and season to ask ourselves, how am I doing in those areas? What is maybe Jesus calling me to do in a special way for people in those situations? And I would say, I would add to that because we have a daughter who works in the with military, in terms of the military who have been wounded and harmed, and so that those are special groups that we ought to be thinking about at this time in terms of what can we do, or what does God want us to do? That doesn't mean everybody we're going to run out and on the street and bring in 10 orphans or whatever, but at the same time, God may be calling you to do that.
Also, Pat's mother and my mom were the same about bringing military people. We live in Augusta, Georgia area. We're in Evans, but this is a big Fort Gordon. It's a very big military, and they would invite military people to come to the dinner table at Thanksgiving or Christmas. And I know this because Pat's, my cousin, my roommate, and Pat's cousin invited me to Pat's parents on holidays. I was a flight attendant. We couldn't go home on holidays, and she invited us to I met Pat, right? It's like she did welcome everybody at the table. I always call this space, all are welcome in my heart, in my home, and in my life, because if you know someone's sad and they're having a hard time, and you can't invite all kinds of strangers, but you try to invite the ones that are be really appreciative to come to the table and join the family. So I would never have married Pat or met him if I hadn't had a roommate to welcome me. See him? I didn't like to.
Wow, that's good stories. I was just thinking too, like I love what Deacon Pat said too, that this time of year awakens our hearts to what maybe we should be doing. And I also think it awakens our hearts to what we should continue to do after the season. A friend of mine has a ministry. It's for feeding the hungry. It's called Fiorenza's Food for Friends. It's a national ministry helping to bring food to those in need. And the one thing that he's told me before is that December is a great month for them. They get all kinds of food that they can, you know, bring to the food shelters and help to, feed the hungry. But it's January and February that's harder
Right,
because
sure.
people don't give as much. So I would say consider that, remember that the Christmas season continues into January, and that we can celebrate that in the way of continuing to do good to other people, whether it be bringing food to the hungry or, when they say visiting the prisoners, yes, it could be in a prison, but it could be somebody that that's a shut-in. It could be a neighbor that doesn't have any friends. It could be a relative that's been cast aside from the rest of the family for some reason or another that nobody's talking to, you know? And so these are things, right, that we
Smiling.
can all do, right? That we can
Maybe your
continue.
mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you, every day were Christmas, what a wonderful world it would be. Bill?
Oh, no, absolutely. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with Ann, you know, visiting those imprisoned in, whatever, homeless shelters, wherever, nursing homes. I mean, those things are so very important that we do. And so, really gotta buckle down and examine yourself this time of year. I think that's one of the things that I've been hearing throughout today, and this podcast has been really, um, be aware of what's going on around you. I think that's another big temptation and something that Satan throws a lot of roadblocks our way, right? He just throws a lot of roadblocks our way this year, this time of year, to just distract us from the mission, right? I mean, every single commercial that's out there is, get this, have this, do this, whatever it is, right? Like you can, and the promise is false, right? Like he is, he is the father of empty promises, right? Like we hear that in the baptismal promises when we renew them. And it's true because here, on every commercial, it's like, just get this and you're going to be happy. Just get this, or just do this, or maybe it's time for a vacation on a Carnival cruise. And
Right.
maybe it is. And maybe it is. I mean,
Got it.
they got some wonderful deals. Like nothing wrong with a Carnival cruise. But all I'm saying is if you're putting all your hope in a Carnival cruise, if you're putting all your hope in the latest gadget or whatever it is, you're putting your hope in the wrong place. It just isn't the right place for your hope. Where Jesus wants your hope is in him. And this is the best time of year for us as Christians because we see hope on display. It's just on display. It's full throttle. We have I'll never forget going to of all things, a funeral one time for a child. And the priest said perhaps the greatest loss is the loss of hope. The the hope of what this person is going to become, right? When a life is cut short. And it's so true in the case of Jesus as this little baby, right? Like we have hope and faith because we know that 20 some chapters later in the Bible, he delivers on that hope that he provides on Christmas Day. So I just want people to put their hope in Jesus and not in all the things that Satan throws our way, to just distract us from the mission. And if you put your hope in Christ, you're going to do all of those other things. You're going to be serving the poor and feeding the homeless, hungry, and reaching out to the homeless. You're going to be doing all of those things if you can anchor yourself in Jesus Christ.
You may need to, it's a good time of the year to look into your parish. Not how many of you, parishes, not every parish has the St. Vincent de Paul, for example, which is a great ministry in reaching out to the poor. And I know in the areas that I've been involved with, they're not only feeding, but they're paying bills and providing shelter and taking care. So there are ministries out there that if you don't have one in your parish, maybe God wants you to start one, because they're great. You can get a lot of support in terms of how to set it up, and then you don't have to start out at ground zero with nothing. You've got great examples out there to help you.
Wow, I love that. That's a great idea, and we have it at my parish. But I think that it was a wonderful mention of yours, Deacon Pat, to bring that out to other people. Another thing just popped into my head that we're thinking about and talking about, what ways that we can be charitable to others. And Bill, I just want to commend you on what you said too, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think another thing that we can do in our examination of conscience is that maybe there's someone that we need to either forgive or reach out to, or reconnect with someone that you haven't done so in a while, that maybe you had some kind of a falling out. Maybe there's a family member, as I said just a few minutes ago. I mean, a lot of times in families, there can be some alienation. There might be one aunt or one cousin or one sister or something that, when families are not families of faith, there can be a lot of bad things that happen in families, when there's no faith, when there's no prayer, when there are no parents at the helm that are solid in their faith, that are passing that on to the kids. And, I've seen that in my own life sometimes. Unfortunately, I think we've all seen it, where, just like goodness can spread, unfortunately, badness also spreads too. And, there might be just one person in a family that's being kind of ostracized, that we can, make a phone call or make that person feel like they're welcome there, or, and sometimes at holiday dinners, sometimes stuff can happen too. You might have one really dominant personality that likes to sort of take over conversations or bring it into full scale political discussion or something. And, and that's never good, at a holiday dinner, is it? It's never good. And so I think one way that we can be Christ to others is just to become better listeners, and maybe try to bring Christ where he's not being honored, try to bring him there. Some families don't even pray before Christmas dinner. I mean, I've seen that too. And of course, when it's in your own house, you have control over that, right? I mean, you can do a prayer. If nobody else in your extended family likes to do that, you like to do it, you do it, because it's Christmas Day, and that's what Christmas is all about, So my heart goes out to people that have those issues. And like I said, I have experienced those things in the past myself. And I think the best thing that we can do is just to keep Christ in Christmas. And even if he's not in other people's hearts, he can see Christ in our hearts. We don't need to be preachers. We can be good people through our actions, our deeds, our words, and our prayers. I mean, I think that's the best that we can do, isn't it?
Yeah. So and the reality is we're all sinners. We're all a little dysfunctional. No family is perfect, other than the Holy Family.
That's right.
But I wonder what Joseph said when he hit his thumb with a hammer or whatever. But some are much more dysfunctional, as than others, and there are some in our life like that, and we just periodically, you just reach out and try, because the thing is that Jesus doesn't give up on us, so we can't write people off until they die. And so but how you go about that, you ask the Spirit to lead you and guide you. So it's not something we do on a regular basis because we've been burned. But at the same time, it's like, okay, yeah, it's not really us. It's just the way that person tends to relate to almost everybody in his family. But
Your names have been changed, so no one notices.
Right.
Seriously.
but at the same time, you just keep reaching out, and you have to kind of change your expectations in terms of maybe you're only going to get one moment that's really positive in an interaction, and then you just got to be thankful for that.
This is believers against unbelievers, a lot of times, because there's certain things go on with him as well. But y'all, I'm looking at our clock, and we would have to do last minute, but I have enjoyed everything everyone said. I love the conversation. I've learned a lot, and we can feel convicted too. We'll put a confession. Really, seriously, it's a very important subject. So if I want to start, who wants to start with their closing remarks, and we'll tell how to get a hold of Ann and Bill and you and I. Who wants to go? While they're thinking, this is Ellen Manya from Go Tell the World. Co-hosts and Ann DeSantis and Bill Snyder and Deacon Pat and I are hosting on this wonderful podcast. Hope you're learning something, because I'm here always to learn. There's always something to learn from someone. Ladies first, and your closing remarks.
Oh. My first statement is of gratitude to you and Deacon Pat for having Bill and I on this podcast. It's really an honor for both of us. Some of your audience knows that Bill and I, we also have another podcast that we do. It's called Sowing Hope on the Patchwork Heart Ministry YouTube channel, in case anybody ever wants to watch some of our past podcasts. But it's just really, honestly, I can't say it enough that it's a wonderful idea of yours, Ellen, that you had to host us and that we can have these great discussions. And my final words are just to those who are watching is just remember to pray during this season, because I know even for me, I mean, I am a person of faith and I love God and I love my Catholic faith, but it's even challenging for me to remember to pray more instead of just do stuff, like wrap gifts and put Christmas trees up and make cookies and things, I mean, you want to, I think the joy comes in when we do all the things that we need to do, right? But then we remember to pray. We remember that our faith is why we do all these things. And then we also remember that Jesus teaches us to care about everybody, not even just in our own families, right? He wants us to care about the world. He wants us to care about people in our church communities. He wants us to care about the poor, the sick, the marginalized, people who don't have friends, maybe people that we've somehow marginalized in our own lives. We might not even realize we did it, right? It might be that we just stopped talking to somebody and we just don't realize that it even happened. And so I just want to thank you so much again. Learn about me on my website by going to anndesantis.com and nonatus.org for the St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation. Thanks again.
We feel honored to have you all, Bill.
Yeah, awesome, man. For my final words tonight, I would just say, seek Jesus this time of year. We've really said it all. That we could say that's on our hearts tonight. I think about putting, Jesus is the reason for the season, right? And so just really take that to heart. And it's not easy to do. I know we can plaster a bumper sticker on our car that says that, but really to internalize that into our hearts, that's really hard. One final story is that last night I'm getting ready for a television shoot this morning, and there was no internet in the in the residence where I was staying. I brought my little hotspot. I thought, oh, I'm gonna be slick. I'm gonna bring my little, device that gives me internet. And for whatever reason, the device wouldn't work. It was just failing. And I've been so busy. I've been doing so many different things that the Lord just said, well, you don't have any internet, you can't do any work. So how about you go to sleep? And so I texted my wife. I said, I can't do the work. Like, I'm just going to go to sleep and get up in the morning and do what I need to do here. And it was a reminder for me, like, you can't be a hero all the time and doing everything for every person.
Yeah.
God is in control. And just allow yourself to remember that amidst all the busyness, all the craziness, you got 7 days to, check off your list. Don't worry about that. Be close to Jesus. Seek Jesus. Remember, he comes as an infant. And when that happens, he's gonna give you the grace to just be in his presence and love him, right? He's not gonna ask you to, check off every item on your list. That's not the God we have. We have a God who comes as an infant just to be in presence with him. So that's what I would say. If you want to check out my website and all that we're doing, just go to patchworkheart.org. PATCHWORKHEART, patchworkheart.org. You can see all the work. Please connect with us, email, all that good stuff. Join our email list. And don't forget to do the Las Posadas. It's a great tradition. You can find it on our YouTube channel. This time of year, just search for Patchwork Heart Ministry Las Posadas. It's a wonderful reflection leading up to Christmas. So that's what I have for you tonight. Thank you guys so very much. It's always an honor to be with you. Next time, I promise people will be able to see me.
He's invincible voice of wisdom. But before we close, can one of y'all mention what your summit is? Can they still go to your summit or no?
Yes, absolutely.
I put a plug in for everybody because I'm the.
Yes, and thank you to Deacon Pat and you, Ellen, for being wonderful speakers at the summit. So the God the Father Summit is available on our YouTube channel. It's completely free. All the videos are up there. We had 17 speakers from all over the country give amazing talks on God the Father's love. So if you want to go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe, and you'll see a playlist there that says God the Father Summit. It's got all the videos. I encourage you to follow that, like them, watch them, and share them. Again, completely free, and the best way you can help us is to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It'll be a it'll be a good Christmas gift for you. It'll be a good Christmas gift for you.
It's free.
Just subscribe. It's a free one.
Good, Bill.
But yeah, so anyway, try that out, folks. I really do appreciate you guys as always. It's an honor to be with you.
Us too. So I think you brought up a very good point, though, that can be lost in all this in terms of ministry is there are a million good things we can do. But God wants us to do certain things, and he wants us to take care of ourselves too. I mean, he may ask you to become a martyr, but most of us is not, other than the daily martyrdom of giving of self. But at the same time, if you don't take care of yourself, then you really can't do what he wants you to do. So that's a real tension in our lives in terms of being faithful to Jesus.
Thank you, Deacon Pat. Thank you, Ann, and thank you, Bill. My last word is this. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. It started this week. We're supposed to be joy-filled because he's come. Do you have room at the end of your heart for him to come in? And how are you making room? And lastly, I want to say that just eat strawberries. Look at all the fathers taking care of his son. It's a busy life, and Bill's cutting strawberries for his little guy. That's a father to us, a man who looks at what we're doing, what we need to do, and what we're trying to do, and he takes care of us. So thank you all. I did really enjoy it. We're having people look at our show, and I know this is gonna be a good one. So watch this podcast and then pass it to a friend. Ellen, Pat, Ann, and Bill, go tell the world. You go tell the world now. You go tell them something you've learned today, and tell them to sign on my YouTube channel. It's Ellen Mongan. That's my YouTube, and Pat's on it a lot with me. He does Deacon Dear with me, and he also does Wow Mom, or he does this one like your mom. So you go tell the world, and Bill, from our house to yours, Merry Christmas and have a great night.
God bless everyone.